Hello and welcome to Pixel Perfect. Today, I would like to teach you how to sound professional with any mic that you're going to use in your streaming setup. So in my last video, one of the biggest things that I talked about was that audio is key to having a successful stream. The biggest thing that makes viewers leave your stream is having bad audio, bad microphone sound, bad mix. Anything that makes it difficult or unpleasant for the viewer to hear is going to make them leave. And one of the most important things you can do is make sure that your microphone sounds professional. So today, we're going to talk about two things. We're going to talk about your hardware setup, and then we're going to talk about your software setup. To start, one of the most important things you should know about when streaming and using a microphone in a live setting is the placement of your mic. Personally, I like to make sure that I have my microphone nice and close, but not too close to my face to get that warm, dry voiceover sound, similar to what I would think Morgan Freeman would sound like in a voiceover. I know some people like to not have their mic directly up in their face and they like to have it set off in the distance, but I don't like to have a lot of room noise. I like to make sure that I can eliminate as much room noise and background noise as possible. So placement is key, and the first thing that I'm going to recommend that you do is get a boom arm for your mic. Desk mount boom arms are incredibly helpful for setups, not only because they allow you to swivel and pivot your mic in different positions to allow you different types of sounds, but they can also help hinder any sounds on your desk that might vibrate otherwise through the base of your microphone. For example, let's say you play a lot of keyboard intense games, right, on your desk. You're going to be clicking the keys a lot and moving your mouse around a lot, and the constant movement and tapping on your desk is going to vibrate through the base of your microphone, which will be potentially eliminated through the boom arm. It's going to absorb a lot more sound. Another thing that is also really important with the boom arm is you can actually put padding between the base of the boom arm that mounts on your desk, so it will absorb the sound even more. Personally, all I do is slap a couple pieces of cardboard in between my desk and the mount itself, so the cardboard can help absorb all the shock impacts on my desk to help eliminate any vibrations that's coming off the desk into my microphone. The third piece of equipment that I can recommend to you is a shock mount. Now, you've probably seen these on microphones like an Audio-Technica AT2020. It's a little mount that holds the microphone. It looks like a little trapeze with strings that are holding it in place, and those are specifically designed to make sure that there are no vibrations or sounds hitting the microphone so you get a plosive-free experience. Now, granted, not all microphones are going to have a supporting shock mount. Most shock mounts are typically made for condenser-style microphones, not dynamic microphones. So I use a Shure SM7B, which you can see is hidden behind my monitor over here. I don't have a shock mount for that because it's a dynamic mic. Its signal source level is much quieter than that of a condenser microphone, thus it doesn't pick up impacts as much as a condenser mic would. And so having the padding in the boom arm is more than enough to already help limit any of the impacts that it may pick up through my desk. The last piece of hardware that I'm going to suggest for your microphone, and any mic can use this because you can get any style of it, is a pop filter. This can be a metal mesh filter or a fabric filter, and typically it will mount on whatever your mic is mounted to. So for example, you can get a little swivel clamp that will then go onto your boom arm, and then you put it in front of the capsule of whatever microphone you're using. This will help reduce plosives as well, such as any of the P's, B's, D's, and T's that are on your mic. Hearing those sounds, or when you exhale deeply and blow onto the microphone, can be jarring for viewers. Usually doesn't make them leave, but it's typically an unpleasant sound to listen to, especially when you have headphones on. I know I don't like to hear those typically when I'm listening to a streamer, but it's not a big deal. It's not gonna make me leave unless it's a continuous thing, you know? So making sure that you reduce any impact sounds, any unnatural or jarring sounds to the mic is essential. So no impacts from the desk and no plosives from your mouth going into the capsule of the microphone. Next, if you're using a USB microphone like the Blue Yeti, for example, make sure that you're on the correct pattern. On the back, there's 4 patterns that the Blue Yeti supports. Make sure that you are using the cardioid pattern. What this does is it only records audio from one side, the side that it is facing, and then actively rejects audio from behind it. It will still pick up some sound, but it is vastly different than something that is omnidirectional, which will pick up from multiple directions. Make sure that it's on the cardioid pattern. This way it only picks up what is directly in front of it. Now, once you've got your mic mounted and you've got the potential shock mount and the pop filter on it, the next thing we need to talk about is called the proximity effect. So basically, the proximity effect says that the closer that the mic is to the source of the audio, the more bass it will pick up. So if you have a very deep, robust voice, the closer the mic is to your mouth, the more bass it's going to pick up, and the farther away it is, the less bass it's going to pick up. Now, this will hold true for any type of voice, regardless if you have a deep voice or not. I don't really have that much of a deep voice. I have a pretty mid-range baritone voice like most guys do. So that being said, I don't really need to worry too much about the proximity effect, but also note that with the proximity effect, if you are not using a pop filter, you will get more plosives like the P's, B's, D's, and T's that will impact the capsule of the microphone. So you don't want any of those sounds hitting the mic. So be cautious of how close you set the microphone to your mouth to make sure you get that nice, warm, dry voiceover sound. Now, the last thing I want to tell you about before we go over to the software side and use all the plugins that are part of OBS, I want to tell you, turn your gain down. One of the best things you can do for your mic is turn the gain down on it. If you have a dedicated gain knob, not your volume knob, but a gain knob on a USB microphone or whatever interface you're using, turn it down. You typically want to set the raw input of the audio to whatever your loudest point is. So if you like to scream a lot, make sure that your gain never actually peaks or clips in OBS. That little audio meter down there, make sure that when the audio meter goes up at your loudest point, that it never hits the 0. That is incredibly crucial for setting up better audio in a later setup. Plus, having a quieter gain will also make sure that you don't pick up nearly as much room noise if you have fans running or air conditioners, and also it won't pick up your keys from your keyboard or anything else like that. You want to try and eliminate as much room noise as possible. Okay, so for the next demonstration, now that I have all of the hardware set up, we're gonna move over to the software side into OBS, where I will be actively changing all of the settings on a Blue Yeti to specifically show you how to make any microphone sound professional. Okay, so we're at the streaming setup right now. Normally, I would have a Shure SM7B as my microphone, but for this video, obviously I'm using the Blue Yeti. Right now, you are hearing completely unaltered audio. The only thing that I did do is I had to go into the Windows settings, specifically down at the sound settings, and then into the sound control panel, because for whatever reason, the Blue Yeti has an incredibly sensitive preamp. The physical gain on this microphone is all the way down right now, and yet it is still coming in way too hot in OBS. So what I did is I went into the microphone properties, which is the Blue Yeti right here, and I went to levels, and I had to lower the sensitivity down to 60 because it was just coming in way too hot. Literally, me just talking like this was clipping the microphone. And I don't know if there's another setting in Windows that was doing this, but I just lowered this so I can give you a better demonstration of how to set the mic up. So if your Blue Yeti's coming in too hot, that's an easy fix you can do before adding anything else to the settings in OBS. This is, again, just raw audio you're hearing, as you can see this right here. So I have the audio set up right now where if I were to scream, it should only come up to about -3. I'm not going to do that because I don't want to hurt your ears, but that is what I was trying to explain before, is that you want to make sure that your gain, make sure that it's set so you never hit this little 0 right here in your audio meter. Let's go ahead and click on the gear and then go into filters. And as you can see, I have 4 effects built in to this Yeti right now. These are all free, and these are all easily accessible. Everything here is built into OBS directly except for the VST 2x plugin. These you have to download and install for OBS to see, and I will show you how to do that briefly. So essentially, I'm just going to leave these up here for you so you can copy all of what I have put down, and then you can directly apply them into your Blue Yeti settings. So here I have the compressor. It is off currently. And so the ratio basically says anytime your volume goes above this number right here, it's going to reduce it by that much. The attack is how fast the compressor kicks in. The release is how fast it lets go, basically saying how fast and how long it takes to squish the audio and then release it. and then the output gain is what makes it so that this will make it quieter. The output gain brings those volumes back up, because this, if you don't have any output gain, all you're going to do is make your microphone quieter. You got to make sure that you bring those quiets back up. So it's basically the threshold is making the louds quieter and the quieters loud to make it a more smooth, consistent sound. So let's turn this on. Now, the first thing that this is going to do is you are going to hear some room noise because of the way that it's making the sensitivity increase, but we have a solution for that. So here is the mic now with the compressor on. You are obviously going to hear quite a bit of a difference. And the next thing we're going to turn on right away is a noise gate. And the first thing that you'll notice is that it completely quiets the microphone when I'm not making any sound. So now the noise gate is set, and essentially what this does is it's going to turn off any room noise. Anything that is below these numbers will make it so that the microphone does not hear it. And then, as you notice, when I get quiet again, the noise starts to fade out. It rolls off. That's what these numbers are. So the attack time is how fast, again, it kicks in, the hold time, and then the release time is how long it takes for the microphone to get back down to being completely quiet, to that 0 pickup sound. So the longer your release time, the longer it's going to take for that audio to begin to fade out. So now you have a compressor and a noise gate built in. So the compressor basically makes your levels more stable instead of really, really louds and really, really quiets. It basically makes it a little more level for the viewers to hear. And then you have your noise gate to make sure that there's less background room noise. You can't fully eliminate room noise without at least having some acoustic treatment, and I don't have acoustic treatment in my room. One good way to eliminate this, like how I do, is I use a dynamic microphone rather than a condenser microphone. Dynamics are just significantly quieter than condenser microphones. Next is the VST plugin, which is an EQ. And so basically what this is going to do is it's going to boost all the lows and all the highs to give you that nice, sweet, warm voiceover sound. And so I don't have it turned on right now, but when I do that, now it is on, and you're going to hear, make sure you're listening with headphones, you're going to hear a pretty significant difference. And to give you that nice, sweet sound, you want to boost to about the 200 to 300 range and just let it roll off. And then you want to make sure that you also boost your highs. And for the most part, most people, you're not going to really notice anything past the 20,000 range. It's usually just about the 5,000 and above range. This is where you're going to really start to hear that high end clear up. So, for example, this is everything on my tab 1. So if you just want to copy these and drop it right in, then you have this for band 2. All I did with bands 2 and 3 is I made it that the mids are flat, because this is a very ear sensitive area and will be very harsh to listen to if any of this is boosted. So you want a really nice flat sound through here. And same thing with band 3. All I did is made sure that this was pulled off. And lastly, here is the high shelf. This is basically just boosting all the high frequencies to give you that nice little bit of crisp sound to it. Now, if you want this plugin, it does have more. It's from Reaper. They are free, and you can get all of these extra ones that you can mess around with. And so basically all you have to do is just go to reaper.fm/REA plugs, and then make sure you download either the 32-bit or 64-bit. I imagine everyone is on 64-bit at this point, which make sure it's whatever version of OBS you're running, which as far as I know only supports 64-bit anymore. So just download the 64-bit, install it, and then you should be good to go. If it doesn't show up right away, just close OBS, restart your computer, reopen OBS, and then they should show up right away as standalone EQs and other plugins for it. Okay, so now that we have the compressor, the noise gate, and the EQs in there, the last thing we're going to add is a limiter. And so what a limiter does, and it's also known as a brick wall limiter, is it's a plugin that specifically makes it so that this sound never hits 0. It's basically guaranteeing that no matter how loud I get in the microphone, it's never going to go above the -3 dB. This mic may peak and it might sound distorted, but it's guaranteeing that for your viewers, they will never hear the actual 0 and distort any louder. It's a really good, safe way to make sure that you throw this on at the end of your chains so that your microphone never goes above a certain volume. And there you go. That is pretty much the difference between making sure that you just throw a mic on there and just let the gain run wild and you hear a bunch of different sounds versus actually adding compressor, EQ, noise gate, and a limiter so you actually get a much more robust and warm sound. And that's pretty much the entire setup, guys. If you have any questions, feel free to jump over to my Twitch channel at twitch.tv/pixelperfect. I do stream pretty much every day over there, and you can ask me any questions if you don't want to wait for another video to come out for any more tips and tricks. I really appreciate the support. If there's any questions you had that you didn't understand about the video, please feel free to leave a comment in the section down below. Also, please don't forget to subscribe. I'm not going to ask you to turn on post notifications because I know those can be annoying sometimes, but the subscribe button is free and it's just one click, so I really would appreciate it if you click that and supported the channel as well. Thanks so much for your support, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.
I can already kind of smell it.
I thought it was a higher level.
Oh, wow, that was really bad. That was really bad.